Oh, you're recording?
I just started recording because I want to hear you gripe about your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's what I want. I want everyone to cuz no one I don't when Steve and I were on the road, I had to explain to him how much some operators just actually hate water sports. So some people are just like, "Oh my god," especially when you work like from an employee perspective. Like talk to your
At least
employees at
50%.
happy hour.
Yeah, at least 50% hate water sports.
100% in July. If you talk to a dockhand, a mate, a captain, they're the most grumpy. Leave me, leave me the hell alone. Like I don't want to talk to another person. I mean, you think, dude, just from a Paris-Bail perspective, right? You fly
Yeah.
100 people a day. You make, if you're a good captain, you make 100 small talk, 12, 13 conversations per boat or per day. How you doing? Where you from? Playing the
Hmm.
hospitality angle. And then you got to like pull that from your soul. Like at 6 o'clock at the end of July, some of these guys will not utter a single word, especially when they've been out in the sun all day and running and gunning and they're dehydrated and they're hungry and you've just been cranking, man. Like it is very much a manual labor position. And so it's like hard to get unstuck from that. Like I talked to my dock manager today and he's just like, yeah, I'm just hiding in a dark room in the air conditioning, away from the heat and away from people, and I'm good, man. I mean, I've arguably talked and made small talk with like 150,000 people. I've always estimated that I've flown about 100. I've met 100,000 people parasailing. Minimally, I met another 50,000 working my docks and boat rentals and sending people out. And it's just, I think at some point you just kind of get like burned out. And then as you get older, I mean, I'm 45 years old, man. Like Greg and I are talking about networking stuff for the event and what do you think's cool. And Greg kind of gives me a hard time about like hiding in my room, and I'm just like, yeah, because I talk about water sports 24/7, like with my staff, with everybody, and like a lot of the attendees.
Hmm.
It's after summer, like want to have some drinks, want to relax, want to chill, and I go and do the thing at the conference, and then sometimes I just kind of go in my room and lay down and put my head up and look at the ceiling. No kids. No, all of
Hmm.
us have another job. Those of us who are our parents, right? Like, and a lot of us are
Yeah.
uh, that have families. So you go from one job, and we're working 7 days a week, either in the office or outside or a combination of the both if you're an operator like me. And then I go home, and it's like kids, take care of the kids, help my wife wrangle up our three kids and take care of them. And then I just open up my eyes, and I'm either back into emails or statements. And then my son is at the side of my bed, and it's just like at some point I'm just like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Like break. I can't hide in my office. I can't hide from anywhere. So at some point, you want to hide, and I think a lot of operators feel that way. And I'm not
It gets
griping about my
it gets
life. It's
eerily
just
quiet in summer, at least, at my job, it gets eerily quiet because everyone works pretty hard March, April, May to get all their products and get all their marketing straight for the summer, and then it's literally a ghost town in like our marketing department. We don't hear much from it because everyone's so burnt out and they're working 7 days. Like they don't have. There's like by now, if you haven't got everything straightened out with your marketing, it's like you missed out. So it's yeah. And then like right after summer, it gets back busy again because everyone has time to kind of look through their fall and off season
did you
plans.
know, if you're listening to this and don't see us, that Greg and I are matching?
Yeah,
Look at your shirt.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
100. We both have
Is
a
that
maroon colored
maroon?
T-shirt.
Maroon. I was gonna say mauve. Like I don't even know what mauve
Moth.
is. I think mauve is
Yeah,
like a lighter color. That was
yeah.
like the
So
'90s. Yeah, mauve and maroon, like the '90s colors.
was
My
was that the
actually,
'90s color?
yeah, when I bought my house, it was built in '96, and it was like maroon and mauve and avocado and French yellow, all that crap. It's
Yeah. So
insane.
so Greg and I have been just fun arguing about the event. Like Greg wanted to have wants to have a bus, and everybody gets onto fucking buses. and everybody packs into a bus and are trapped inside of a bus with each other. And everybody agreed with Greg. They're like, yeah, we all want to be trapped inside of a bus with each other. And I'm like, I want to Teen Wolf it. I'll surf the top of the bus. Yeah, away from everybody.
Well, I've been to dozens and dozens of events, and I'm starting to realize like what I don't like. And one of the things that we do at a lot of events is they have these like nighttime nightclub atmospheres, and you're in these small venues with hundreds of people. The music's blaring. You can't walk around. You can't get a drink. It's just awful. Like, you're there to network and build your business, but you can't even hear each other, and you end up just leaving. You get your free drink ticket, but you have to wait like an hour just to get your drink. So, Kevin and I we've just been kind of discussing like, let's have like these chill events where there's plenty of space. It's not like all about drinking. It's just about making connections. It's quiet. And not too quiet, but quiet enough to where like you can actually enjoy yourself, and you're not like thinking like, I need to get out of here kind of thing because you're claustrophobic. But like, that happens just far too often, and I just don't think that's fun, because part of this is going to the conference, learning, is having fun, it's rekindling relationships you have with your colleagues and vendors.
I like one-on-one, like good. I like meaningful conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's like it's hard even just from the podcast perspective of having bullshit conversations with people, right? Like, I want to have like engaging, like good conversation about like good ideas. I'm willing to like bat it back around. I'm willing to debate topics. I'm willing to have like great conversation, but it's usually one-on-one. Like, when I have like, and that's why I struggle at these things, because when I have like 5 people and we're talking about like upsells or engines on pontoon boats or parasail or what Snorkel's doing or state of the insurance, it's just like, those are things that I'm more than willing to school somebody on if they're in the startup phase or new or like need some direction. I'll have that conversation all day. But sometimes it just feels like a bitch fest. You know what I mean? Like FV 606 and over the rail insurance. And
well, that's our job, to moderate it a little bit, keep everyone on topic. Speaking of the conference, as we need to plug it because we're getting closer. If you're listening for the first time or haven't listened in a while, the conference is in St. Augustine this year. It's our 4th annual port conference, and it's October 21st and 22nd at the Guy Harvey Resort. If you go to watersportpodcast.com, you can get tickets. We are running very low on tickets. I think the last time I looked, like, we're about 10 or so. However, we are trying to work with the resort to get some extra seats open. We just don't have a big venue like we've had in the past, so it's not like we could just add more seats because there's a fire code and things like that. But this is the quickest tickets sold up to this point since we started it. So we know that a lot of repeats we're seeing in there, a lot of new folks, some new advertisers. We can talk about some of the advertisers, right, Kevin? The ones that have settled up with us. So we have Propelic.
Those who pay their bills.
Up with us so far. We have Propelic. We have AutoTrack.
Propelic is marketing agency.
Yep. Yeah, we have the Von Mack agency, which this is their 4th year sponsoring, which marketing agency out of New Orleans. They do a lot of water sport operators. We have Granite Insurance, which is Chris Murray, which has done a phenomenal job getting some of our community members with great insurance options. And we have Souvenir Photo, which Derek has like a very revolutionary way of taking photos for your guest. I think he does primarily parasailing, but I think it can work for a lot of different types of categories. Who are we missing? I just don't want to make sure, because I know that one person that's listening is going to be like, and then
I don't know. Take My Boat Test will be there. Wave Revs. I mean, our companies will be there.
Yeah.
Fucking come on, man. Jesus,
Tour
dude.
Scale.
God.
We have Tour Scale and Get Up and Go, which are also our sponsoring, and they'll be doing some programming. You've seen Kai and Justin on the show plenty of times. So yeah,
Get Up and Scale. Get Up and Scale featuring little Brett, little tiny Brett.
Yeah, and just one thing to point out: some of our guest list, some of the biggest water sport companies in the country have representatives attending the conference. So if you are just getting in the game, or you're new and you're just looking for guidance, some mentorship, I'm about 99% sure that each one of these people will sit down and have a conversation with you, and that's what's special about bringing people together here, is that we're all trying to help. We just went live last week with our show with Marcel of Fury Water Ventures in Key West, and Fury is one of the largest in the country. And Marcel was like, "Yeah, here's my email. Give me a shout and see how I can help." Like, that's pretty amazing. He he doesn't need to be doing that, but he does, because he wants to see the industry better. And I think that's kind of like Kevin and I's thing too, with why we started the podcast and why we continue to help folks and to be better operators and operate safely. And
we'll also have representatives from Pen Gear, the nation's #1 manufacturer of pencils. For those of you guys who want to go back to pencils and paper, we'll have a representative from Dunder Mifflin, and we'll get back to that's a shout out James Beard. He's like, man, I do all my reservations with like paper and pencil still. I'm like, God, thank God, man. Like, sometimes I think Arrival took my criticism off. Like, they had me do like, I don't know, some kind of like post, like, what do you think about the event? From an honest perspective. And I was like, too much tech. That's what I said. And I don't think they put that in there. I don't think.
What if we just had all of our vendors? We had like a paper vendor. We had like Office Depot there, and then we had like I don't know what other manual stuff.
Some Google
calendars.
Google Calendars. That's not
Google
manual.
Sheets.
Like actual calendar company. Like my buddy put out
manufacturer. SD.
Yeah, Bic. Not Bic was sponsoring. That'd be awesome.
Cigarette lighters. So we can have Philip Morris. Here's cigarettes, and then
can I just go on a tangent
here?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I understand why some of these guys like want to do paper and pencil sometimes. Like, on some of the stuff that doesn't have the volume, like, and I've got to rein my people in sometimes, man. Because we have all of these fucking automated this and automated that. And I'm like, did anyone answer the phone? No. Did we repeat the booking back to the customer? No. No, it's like, I feel like sometimes that as a society, could you imagine going on a trip with like a road atlas? And remember, you used to print out maps, paper maps, MapQuest, and that's what you would follow. Now it's like, I don't even know how to get home from my office without Siri telling me how to get there. And I really think that some of this stuff is it takes the operator out of the game, you will, because you're just like, oh yeah, my automated follow-ups, automated email, automated reviews, and like I'm a huge proponent of all of that stuff, but also I feel as though if you become too heavy on it and too reliant on it, then you forget that there is like a touch point with the customer where they do show up and meet you or your people. And I think there's a piece of that gets lost in some of this, where we're not actively reaching out and we're all relying on texting and SMS and not having a good conversation with our people still, to understand what it is that they want and what it is that they're looking for, because not everyone's going to leave you a review. I've got 150, 200 people, 300 people, whatever it is, that cross my dock every single day. And, we do 10, 15 reviews a day or something like that. But still, there's that is a very small margin of data that you're going to get from your customers on how their experience was. And And I think if we just become too reliant on this, and whatever new automations are down the pipe in the next 3 to 5 years, I think we kind of lose like a little bit of the soul of us. So
We need a landline company sponsoring, like a landline phone,
I
like a rotary phone company.
don't get me started. Don't get me started. I have such a Wi-Fi problem in my office, and these soft phones where phone calls aren't coming through, and then it's just a missed call through our automation. Like, it makes me want to punch holes in the wall.
It's one of those things too where I think eventually people are going to be like, if you don't offer online booking, customers are going to be like, you don't offer, I can't book online. Like, what's your problem? You know, it's going to get to that point eventually. Or I can't book on my phone. You know, you
No,
don't
it's
text
not.
me.
They're just gonna come. They're gonna show up. They're gonna knock on your door. They're gonna call you. I feel like
It's gonna
sometimes
eventually get to that point though. Just like restaurants, like sometimes I get mad like they don't offer like online ordering for restaurants, like meaning I gotta actually call them and like or go there. I do. I'm starting to feel that.
I think I saw that somebody was like, I'll text. I'll keep texting until the end of time. I'll never pick up a phone call and talk to anybody. I just want to text everything. And I'm just like, you're the most annoying person on the planet, dude. You want to have a 45-minute long, 3-day long text communication versus just calling somebody, taking 5 minutes and getting done.
I would, and I know some people like that, but I'm always, if I see someone text me and it's a loaded question, I immediately call them back. Like, I don't have time to sit there and type out an essay, you know, by texting. But I know
it happens all the time, dude. Like, hey, can you tell me how much each thing costs? And no, dude, you can pick up the phone call and we can have a 3-minute fucking phone conversation like normal human beings, because you're so like my wife saying like she hates calling people, and I get it too. Like, sometimes I hate calling too. But if I got to schedule something or get something done, I'm not going to stretch this out over 3 days of having this long inundated text conversation. Like, I don't know, man.
Our percentage of online bookings versus phone is going down pretty considerably every year. Like this year, I think it's less than 10%. I mean, I know in COVID it was like closer to 25-30%. Like, I had agents
For phones?
For phone. I had agents that were booking $8,000 to $10,000 a day in tours, and it's just very hard to even see half of that. So, I mean, less people are calling.
Yeah, our phones are there was like we had in the beginning, like, it was something stupid like 80-20. And then when we focused in on our phones and getting phone sales, and actually a couple years back when I started hammering people about sales and phone sales and all this sort of thing, I mean, we saw in real time a difference when we did focus on, instead of, I mean, God, when I hear even today, just go online and book online, I will still try and get someone to give us a call. Like, for some of our other products where people are like, how much is this? How much is that? We're always like, hey, what's a good number to give you a call? You know, and they're just like, oh, I'm looking online or whatever. And
since we're talking about phones, Dustin Miller, he has Conversion Assistant, and Conversion Assistant is a corporate partner of ours and a product that a lot of our listeners use. But he gave me a statistic the other day, and I just happened to pull it up while you were talking. He said when consumers are placed on hold, 33% hang up in less than 5 minutes. Also, if you can respond to leads in under 1 minute, your chances to convert them increase by 391%. These are not industry-specific stats, he says, but you know, I almost feel sometimes though that people avoid the phones because they don't want to disappoint people, like the businesses anyways. They're like, just go on email, book online, because there's less that could go wrong, like being put on hold or, you know, not having a friendly person on the line, which that's not necessarily a situation that can't be solved, but you know.
That's I think that's the dumbest fucking advice you could give somebody. Just go onto my website. The moment that turns in,
it happens all the time.
I'll see you later, bye. Like, you know, that I get no fucking way, man. Like, if you want to book online, here's our website. But if we can reach out and talk to you, like, let's have a conversation about what you need and how we can solve your problem. Like,
I remember another Res Tech told their client, and they're now with Waveres, but they told their client to remove your phone number off your entire website. And he did. And I said, why in the hell would you do that? He said, well, they said that my online booking conversion would increase. I'm like, yeah, it probably will increase, of course, because your phone is gone. But that's like cutting off half of your revenue. I mean,
back to the earlier conversation, and I'll tell you that's something people want to lean on. I was guilty of it in the beginning too, especially when you're really busy. And I've had my business partners who've been here on phones who's like trying to get rid of it. And I'm like, no. That is not going to happen. Like I get it, man. People, when you're, again, and that we weren't even talking about that. I was just talking about interacting with people day to day. But when you're on the phones or your people on the phones, like their heads just drop, man. 9:30 at night, I'm sitting there watching TV or something when we first got rolling, and that phone would ring in July. I'd be like, fuck. You know what I mean? But I'd be like, Destiny Water Adventures, this is Kevin. How may I help you? You know what I mean? Like all cheery.
You have to push through it. Any big operator will tell you never to just like get rid of your phones. And I said, if someone ever told you to remove your phone number off your website or your booking portal, like that's the stupidest thing in the world. And yes, like could I increase like my booking fee revenue by removing a phone? Yeah, but that's just being, pretty shitty to your client. Like phones are a big part of the whole sales process. And
customer service.
Yeah, customer service. And if you're not investing in that, then you might as well not even, be in business, because that's just part of it. I mean, water sports are somewhat complicated. We know with all the regulations and age requirements, the equipment is sometimes very complex, depending on like if you're used to, especially jet ski, first time people on a jet ski, like they're going to call, they got kids. They're concerned about the environment. You have to have someone on the phone. And if you're not going to put a lot of effort into the phone, at least put it into like live chat or something to where they can have like meaningful conversations with your team.
I love it. I remember the first time that I kind of implemented we are taking off I want to speak to the owner. Oh my God, man. Like I used to handle all of those. Everybody would be like, I want to talk to the owner. And I remember the last time I was in my car and I found myself like arguing with the guy. You know what I mean? Like I knew he was wrong. I knew what he was saying was wrong, but I felt myself getting emotional, and I'm just like, well, if you go to X, Y, and Z and do X, Y, and Z, like you ever call a hotel and like want to speak to the owner, of the hotel, or you ever call American Airlines and just, demand to speak to the owner of American Airlines? Not that I'm that important or I run that much shit, but at the same time, like when you have a disgruntled customer, especially an unreasonable disgruntled customer, that feels as though like they're the only path to they're getting them their own way is to speak to the owner. And I always find that just kind of like the most shittiest thing, right? Like you'll talk to somebody from India over your plane and ask to talk to a supervisor, but you're never going to be like, let me speak to the CEO. I wonder how much that actually happens. Let me speak to the owner of Holiday Inn.
Can I tell you a really good story?
Sure, I'd love it. I love good stories.
Have you heard of Blue Green Resorts? They're like a huge timeshare company. Blue Green. Yep. Okay. So Blue Green Timeshare Resorts, they have a Facebook group, and there's probably 150, 200,000 people in this Facebook group. And my sister-in-law is a Blue Green member, and so she's in the group, and apparently like people share a lot of their experiences as owners or members, and they talk about tours and attractions and stuff like that. So a lady gets into this Facebook group and starts just bashing. She's like, I had the absolute worst experience. I need to tell everyone about it. This company Trip Shock, they're scammers and blah, blah, blah. And they screwed me out of my money. And so my sister-in-law says, Greg, you might want to come in there and just kind of check this out, because there's like hundreds of comments and people like, saying they're going to write bad reviews. And I'm like, okay. So I looked at her reservation, and it finds out that she booked the wrong date for her tour, showed up, and was upset about it. And then she made this whole thing about like, not getting her money back and all that. But she messed up. I mean, I read all the notes. So I get in there, and this is one of those things where, like, let's say you're complaining about Delta, and then the Delta CEO comes in. Now, they don't know that TripShock is like a rather small company, right? But all these people just assume that we are a big company. I get in there, and I write this post, I respond, and I say, listen, I'm the CEO of TripShock. I looked up this lady's, and I gave the whole story. And one guy made a comment, and it was the best comment, where he said, "This is the most badass thing I have ever read in my life." Everyone's like, Megan, and then she deleted the post like right after, like just being called out. So that's just a good lesson of humility for this lady. Like, you just can't go in there and just because you're mad because you didn't get your way, you have to go and trash my business in this timeshare group and then she ended up deleting it. But yeah, I usually don't do those things, and I want to, but like it was just too easy not to get in there and say something.
Did I ever tell you that like my first leanings toward wanting to like start my own business or like build a website was a website, I might still own it, but it's called prickadvisor.com.
Yeah, you told me about this.
My favorite
it was like
thing in
one
the
of our
world.
first episodes. You were like on a review. You were very proud of this idea that you almost implemented.
I still want to implement. I think like prickadvisor.com or like dickhead advisor or something like that would just be the greatest thing in the world, man, where you like basically dox bad customers, like put up their social media, like just I still think it's a whip idea, man. It's if somebody wants to do that, they would 100%. If I could get some VC money, that'd be great.
I would say more than 50% of the time, if you reach out to a customer that has done something like that, they will, I mean, especially if they're in the wrong on it, they will,
yeah,
you can work it out with them. And then there's the other half that they just do not give a shit. Like, it's their way or their highway. But I've been really surprised in the past by just like reaching out and just trying to come to a conclusion on something, to kind of
go on prickadvisors.com and you can anonymously blast them. I think it's the best idea ever. I think it should exist, and people should be called out.
Yeah, in the Facebook group, there, Chris Woodruff, he's out in Vero Beach. He has a water sport in marina, but he had a situation where some customer couldn't go out in the Gulf and was mad at, and he started, spamming bad reviews with all his buddies. And I think in that situation, the best thing, see, the first reaction is like, okay, I want to get back at this guy. Like, you are mad, he is hurting your business, and you want to get back at him. But the fact of the matter is, like, the more you fuel it, like if you go on and leave a review on their, like if they have a business, right, going to leave a bad review on their business just to kind of tit for tat, sometimes this stuff won't end. And I've been on it. Like, I remember we had a dispute one time and we won the dispute, and the guy is like, "This ain't over." And I'm like, okay. And then like a month later, I just start seeing a slew of bad reviews that are unverified. And this guy like held a grudge against me on this whole thing. And I'm like, you know what, for $40, I should have just said screw the whole dispute and let it go. The guy had a bad experience on a tour. But, it's like, you never know which customer is going to, hold that grudge and just continue on. It's almost best to like take a hit sometimes just so this person goes away. Because eventually some of them will go away. Like, they're just in the moment and they're making bad choices. But a couple bad reviews will not affect you long term, especially if you have several others. The answer to this is just try to get more
violence. You show up and you get just like, you know what I mean? Beat the ever living shit out of them. I feel like sometimes that's just like it's an equalizer that the universe has like let go because of the internet. This is the anonymity of the internet, like, irritates the shit out of me. People say things like you see, and it's the same thing with like angry customers, because you have like 100 times you could have talked to anybody at our location. We could have had a conversation about it, but they wait, they get in their car. I'm mad. Like, like, come on, man. Like, especially when you have a business, I'm going to hurt your business. I own a business too, and I know how to get back at you. Like, and it's just like, like an emotive assault. And before all of this, when somebody had like an emotional outburst and wanted to verbally assault you, there was a very good chance that they were going to get physically assaulted and have to pay for their actions. And I know it's like this old thing, like keyboard warriors, but if somebody was like said something in the comments like to my face or something like that people spew on the internet and YouTube comments and everything else, like, man, I would drop you, man. You know what I mean? Like, I would take a misdemeanor assault charge, no problem. Like, not a customer, but if some guy, you know what I mean, was just like standing outside my business, like screaming stuff, and he was like, I own a business, and don't ever come here because they're this and they're that, and blah, 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 blah. Man, I would fucking put that guy in a headlock, man. Like, there would be repercussions to your actions. And I miss that. And I think it should happen more often. So my advice is you show up at that guy's sign business, Chris Woodruff, and you pistol whip him. That'll teach him. I guarantee you, he'll think twice.
Pistol whip.
It's hard not to get emotional. And the answer to all this stuff, truly, hire a VA, hire somebody offshore. Like, don't even think about it. Unless don't get me wrong, I read my reviews, but I don't handle my responses, right? We have a standard company response. We talked about it on the last show with Marcel. We always take the high road. And then I read those negative reviews because I always feel like, all right, did we genuinely get something wrong here? And then how can we solve it? And how can we limit this or make sure it doesn't happen again? How do we are just being unreasonably hospitable all the time? But I think when you're handling like, and we talked a little bit about on this episode, like how to deal with like unscrupulous competition, and you have I've seen guys do that where they like attack another one of their competitors' business or to pull some of these like underhanded things, and it's hard not to get emotional. It's hard not to want to respond. Like, especially I feel like if you're a creative marketer, right, and you're creative in all of the things that you do, where you're like, man, I could get very creatively underhanded, a lot better than you can.
I don't know if this is the same with you, but when I get a bad review, something like that, some reviews don't bother me, but when I get one of those really bad ones and it's definitely like more on the customer, I mean, how long does it take for you to like stop thinking about it? Because for me, like, it takes around a couple days for me to be like, okay, I can move on. And why that's important and why I'm bringing this up is because you're going to potentially make bad decisions if you don't have time to think through some of these things. Because you got to think, one bad review in the moment is not going to destroy your business. It could prevent a couple bookings here and there, but it's not going to destroy, but you can do more harm by making a bad decision in the moment. So that's why, like, I always tell people is to keep it cool. Like, I think Chris did a good job by like posting and kind of getting some community support and input on his situation. That's why like our Facebook group is so valuable, because you can get people to give you advice and just kind of help you work through some of the problems. But take a couple days and think about it before you
read all the great ones.
Kevin,
read all the great ones. Read all the great ones. When you get a bad one, listen, just let me chime in on this piece of advice. Read all the great ones. Like, that's my advice, right? You get 11 reviews in a day, and one of them's a 1-star, and you're just sitting there focusing on that. Like, I had to bring myself back in when I was on vacation. I got a bad, there was 2 kayakers, and they both got us, right? They're like, attack the business. And I was fired up about it, and then I sat back, and I was like, wait a minute. I've got 30 notifications from 5-star reviews. Let me read all of those. Best time ever. Great staff, great equipment, all of these, like, one after another, about how our customer service was just so amazing. And I'm like, man, my staff is killing it, dude. They're doing such a great job. And it just led me down a mental path where I was like, by the time I got done reading all this stuff, and like, I found myself sending a message in our company scheduling, I'm like, guys, man, thank you guys so much. You guys are doing such an amazing job. And like, I watch all the thumbs up and the thanks boss and all that. And it's just like, then I went back to doing whatever it was I was gonna do. We handled the response to the bad review rating or whatever, and I was like, didn't even think about it anymore. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
No. I was just gonna tell. There's been a couple times where you've called me, and you had a bad review, and you're just like, I just need to talk to someone before I do something.
not me.
There's a couple times where you've called me and you had a bad review, and you weren't sure like what you were gonna do something. I don't know what you're gonna do, like either respond back negatively. But you called me.
Are we trying to talk about my competitors pulling some bullshit and then wanting to do some other bullshit?
This was when like you first started. When you first started, I remember you calling me because someone wrote a really bad review, and you weren't sure how to respond to it, and you were very upset. This is like year one. But you're like, I need, and I remember specifically, you're like, I just need to talk to someone that's level-headed before I do something really stupid, because you were so mad at this guy. And he's like,
and then listen, that's today. I want to put something out here, man. Like, if any of my competitors listen to this show, and I feel like I'm the most, because I get pushback on the podcast sometimes, right? Sometimes there's people that come on the show, and I know a lot of people in the industry, and not everybody gets along, right? I'm sure there's some people out there that don't like me very much, and that's fine. And they're like, yeah, like that guy, and blah, 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 blah. Like I would just like to give some advice to, like, fucking with people's business, like, on the other side of it, like, competitor side, like, bad review, or, like, I always, 99% of the time, take the high road, focus on my product, focus on my team, focus on my business. How can we do better? How can we keep on improving? How can we add more to our customers, our clients? Like, I've got a lot of different logs in the fire, and I usually spend 99% of my time trying to figure out how to get better as an operator, whether it be, boat rentals or bounce houses or boat tests or car rentals or whatever it is. I do not sit around looking at what my competitors are doing. I don't do it. However, when you think that you're watching it, because I get all the time, this guy down the road, blah, 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 we got beef, and and I always give the same advice. However, before you go and fuck with your competitors, especially if from a front-facing view, they are pretty good at what they are doing. Greg has had to talk me off ledges, not with angry customers, but where I had competitors pulling bullshit with me. And I'm like, man, like, I am just as creative on the good guy side as I am on the bad guy side. I want you to think about this for a second. I was a parasail captain who bought a website called Prick Advisors and started thinking about ways to market to service and industry people and create a website and all the different ways that you could fight back against bullshit reviews. Like, that was my answer to that. So I want you to think about that there might be somebody that's pretty damn good at what they do that you're going to go and pull up a stone or fuck with them or give them a hard time, and they could hit you back pretty hard on a number of different ways, especially if they're good. So always take the high road. Never take the low road. Yeah. Because it'll come back and fuck you up, man.
So there's been times where we've had, and we're dealing with this right now, is that folks that don't pay their bills, that ghost us, that, say things to our customers. And here's the thing. I've been doing this for 15 years. We've worked with hundreds of water sport operators. I can be a huge resource for your business. I've put people together to help sell companies. I've helped people with all sorts of problems they've had. I've saved some companies from going out of business. Don't burn bridges with people that are, great stewards of the industry. Like, if you want to stay in water sports, like, the last thing you want to do is screw someone, because word travels really fast. You know, it's so funny. We're all buying and selling each other's boats. We're buying each other's businesses. We learn from each other. I mean, it's just like our network, our industry is quite small if you really think about it. Everyone knows everybody. So
hey, Greg could fuck you up, man. Greg could fuck you up on the internet so bad. If Greg went evil,
I could. If I wanted to be evil, I could. I certainly could.
And you never, not once, like, I never got a phone call from you, like, you know what, man?
You know, I'll
burn these son of a bitches to the ground.
I'll give one story, and we're kind of coming to the end here, but I have to share this.
Yeah, go ahead, tell a story. I love stories.
So there was one partner on that he was on Trip Shock in like the early days, like 2009, maybe 2010, and he left. And he went on for the next 10 years. I kid you not, for the next 10 years, he went on to talk so much garbage about our business and about me personally. It was just, I mean, you can go to Facebook and see all the, just, if let's say a Trip Shock customer walked up accidentally to his booth, he would make sure that customer knew, like, what he thought about our company. And his beef was that he didn't like the fact that our company was like was an agent. Like, he felt like we were kind of taking away from businesses and getting in the middle, and he just hated it. He's like, the OTAs ruined the airline industry. The OTAs ruined the hotel, and I don't know. And then he was mad because his business name was just very basic, like Destin Pontoon, right? And so he was mad that we were advertising the same. So he was all sorts of pissed off at a whole lot of things for years, and he hated us. Well, I never kicked back. And at times I wanted to. I'm just like, ignore this guy. I never kicked back. But eventually the company was sold. And now that company is not only a Trip Shock partner, but he's a WaveRes partner. He's one of the highest performing partners on the site right now, on the whole platform. And they absolutely love working with us. And there's more stories like that. So if I would have kicked back, that all those employees of that company would have seen. But now the employees that were there during the transition are like, these are actually good dudes. Like, it was kind of our owner that was the problem. So It's a good lesson of, like, you never know what could happen with these companies. They can be sold. You might even be able to buy them one day. But you're not just getting respect from the ownership, but you're also trying to get respect from the employees too, because when things change over, you don't want to have a bad relationship with the employees because you kick back and were a pain. But I'm so proud of that situation, because at times, like, they even tried to sue me. It was so messy. But now it's, like I said, one of our best clients. And I'm so glad I didn't do anything to potentially ruin that.
Don't go low. There's no reason to go low unless you absolutely you have to, unless it's fun, unless you're bored. Unless you're just sitting around the office and you're like, searching in the dark web and you're like, I could really get this guy, man.
Yeah, you have to protect yourself. And a lot of times, like, a phone call and a conversation probably works it out like 9 out of 10 times, because no one wants to sue people. Like, they don't. That's the last thing they want to do.
Well, Kimosabis, we were all over the place on this on this episode, and we hope you guys get some value out of it. We've touched on some subjects we talked about before. Obviously, we hard sold you on the conference. We want to see you guys there, October 21st and 22nd at the Guy Harvey Marina. And we appreciate y'all listening. And unless, Greg, you got any other sign-offs?
Watersportpodcast.com. Get your
keep
tickets.
it awkward.
See you then. Keep it awkward.